Okay, so here's Akaydia's birth story. Sunday, March 7th, I was in a bad mood as usual, wanting my baby out, thinking she would be in there forever. We decided to go for a walk, pick up a few things from the store for supper that night. We would go grocery shopping the next day. The walk was nice, but I was tired and sore after we got home. For some reason, though, I just got this feeling that Akaydia would be here the next day, her due date. I started having contractions pretty much constantly from 4 p.m. They were very Braxton Hick-like, so I tried not to get my hopes up. I took a bath after supper around 7 p.m. The contractions seemed to go away for a bit, but did start to come back around 8:30, again like Braxton Hicks. Jay put Aiden to bed, and at around 9 p.m. we did the deed in hopes of getting her out, but me thinking it wouldn't actually work and that I was crazy for thinking she would be here on time. To my surprise, my contractions came back almost immediately after. They were starting to get a bit painful. I was still in denial. I tried to sleep at 11 p.m. after another bath. I said I would give it until 1 a.m. If they were keeping me awake, we'd call the midwife. At midnight, I came back out of my room to time contractions, 5 minutes apart, lasting 1 minute. I was complaining about not wanting to call the midwife for another false alarm, especially at this time. At 12:35, I gave in and called her. My contractions were getting harder to deal with. She told me she would meet us at the birthing center. I called my mom to come stay with Aiden and got all of our stuff together, the whole time saying, "This has to be it. Please don't be false labor again." My mom got there at about 1:15 a.m. and we headed to the center. We got to the center at around 1:40 a.m. Vitals were all good. Akaydia was taking the contractions well. I was almost 6 centimeters dilated and she was very low. My midwife attempted to strip my membranes, but there wasn't really anything left to strip. We stayed resting in bed all night, not sleeping because of the contractions. My midwife came in every half hour to check Akaydia's heart rate. At about 7 a.m., my midwife checked my cervix. I was now 7 centimeters without a contraction, 6 centimeters with a contraction, 70% effaced. I was dealing with the contractions very well. I couldn't believe they were actually dilating me. At this point, I decided to take a bath and to have some breakfast. My midwife brought me a blueberry muffin, grapes, and a clementine. It was a great idea. I gained back some much-needed energy. Eventually, I got out of the bath. Yes, I ate my breakfast in the bath. Where am I? Okay, I got back. Oops, sorry, I'm skipping lines. Eventually, I got out of the bath and we walked around. Contractions were more painful while standing. I also used the exercise ball for a bit. After a while, I got back in the bath for a bit. Around 10:45 a.m., my midwife checked my cervix again. Still 7 centimeters. She suggested we break my waters or to get out and walk more. I decided to have her break my waters. I didn't want to be waiting around in pain and have nothing change again. It was a hard decision for me, knowing how much worse the contractions would be after. Oh my God. Okay, I got out of the tub, and at about 11 a.m. she broke my waters. A couple contractions later, and I was having the horrible contractions that come with transition. At that moment, I was, oh my God. Okay, I was wondering to myself, why, oh my God, I am so sorry, you guys. I'm all mixed up. My printer had messed up, and I had to write over things. Okay, I was wondering why I did this to myself again, but was very thankful that I didn't have too much back labor. My midwife was an amazing help with keeping me focused on getting through the contractions. She had me look into her eyes and send her my pain through dragged out deep moaning noises. Only once did I say the words, "I can't." 12:25 p.m. I kind of felt a bit of pushing, but I wasn't sure. I told her anyways that I thought it was starting to push. She asked if I still wanted a water birth. Of course I said I did. She told me after the next contraction I had to get to the tub or we wouldn't have time. With the next contraction, I knew it was pushing. I got up the second that contraction finished to try to get to the tub. With the first step away from the bed, another contraction, it hit. I felt like my anus was being ripped apart. I told her I couldn't move. There went my water burst. I was a bit sad, but at the same time, I didn't think I'd be able to handle pushing in the water. After the contraction, we had to move fast. I could barely move, but with the help of Jay and my midwife, I managed to get into a better position on the bed. The second midwife came in to assist in the delivery, followed by the birth assistant. I didn't push much at first. I let my body move her down itself as much as I could, but a few times the pushing urge was too strong to ignore, and with that push, it's impossible to stop pushing for the rest of the contraction. I controlled my pushes very well, kept everything relaxed so I wouldn't tear, and I didn't. It took under an hour to push my baby girl out. I was amazed after the 4 hours it took to push Aiden out. It took only 37 minutes of pushing, I think, for her. Can't remember exactly. It's written somewhere. At 1:01 p.m., March 8th, she was put on my chest, showing off her amazing lung skills. I think it was 20 seconds after she was born that she started to cry. I couldn't believe she was here and that the pain was over, until seconds later. We had planned to have the umbilical cord stop pulsing before cutting it, but they clamped the cord only 3 minutes after she was born. Jay was acting weird. He wouldn't cut the cord. He was crying, looked funny. I had no idea why. He was fine with cutting it at Aiden's birth, and I was shocked at how fast the cord had stopped pulsing. It hadn't. They told me to push out the placenta as they pulled on the cord. Surprisingly, that was even painful to push out. Here I thought the pain was over. It had only just begun. They started massaging my uterus. It hurt. They started jabbing me with needles. 3 of them made it into me in a very short period of time. Some sort of suppository was shoved up my anus. That hurt. At this point, I knew what was happening, but I thought everything would be okay. Then the word transfer came out of their mouths. Not long after, they called in the ambulance. They measured Akaydia and weighed her while trying to get my bleeding to stop. 21¼ inches long, 9 pounds 1 ounce. And her head was 34½ centimeters. Sometime between 1:30 p.m. and 2 p.m., the ambulance arrived. My bleeding seemed to be under control, but they said they still wanted me to transfer for observation, just in case. They let Akaydia ride with me in the ambulance. My midwife came with us. Jay had to gather our stuff together and take the car. She nursed all the way to the hospital. I had no idea the hell I was about to go through. They wheeled me into the delivery room, started sticking me with more needles, taking blood. They wanted to check things out, so my legs went up and out. I think 1 million people saw my lady parts over 2 days. They started wiping me off. I was sore. I just pushed out a 9-pound baby. Then needles to numb me. Ouch. I wasn't even warned. Then they started pushing on my uterus again. More ouch. I was then given 3 options for the next thing they had to do. It was going to suck. So my 3 options were to go all natural, to have a shot of fentanyl, or to have the epidural. I chose the fentanyl as they said going without anything was a very bad idea, and epidurals are a big, huge no for me. No one is coming near me with that crap. The fentanyl made me drowsy, but I felt everything. They inserted a catheter for a second before they started, and that sucked. Then the doctor said, "Don't worry, I have small hands." Okay, that made no difference. Her whole hand went up into my uterus to scrape around for any pieces of placenta that may have been in there causing the hemorrhaging, even though my midwives had looked at the placenta and it was completely there. I was crying and screaming in pain, begging them to stop. I just wanted to see my daughter. I didn't have much of a chance to really see her. It went on forever. Hands scraping my insides, pushing on my stomach, and still nurses were jabbing me with needles. My mom had made it into the room before the scraping started, so she was holding my baby for me. Jay had taken Aiden to his mom's so my mom could come be with me. He got there just after the scraping. They gave me oxygen for a few minutes and then moved me to my room. The rest of the day, they came in every 15 minutes to push on my uterus really hard to see how much blood would come out. The pain was worse than the whole labor and delivery put together at times 1,000. No, yeah. That's the same for Bill. They took more blood throughout the day, missing veins over and over again, giving me more shots, and had me hooked up to bags of salt water, oxytocin, and antibiotics. They also put in a catheter so I wouldn't have to get up. The nurse said it wouldn't hurt. She lied. I ended up throwing up from all the pain at one point. Then that night, when my dad, my stepmom, and my younger sister were visiting me, I managed to get a fever, which caused me to shake like crazy, and I threw up again. By the end of the day, they gave me a shot of morphine, which helped a tiny bit, but I was still in pain. There was more of the same the following day, but my uterus was a little less sensitive, so the pushing on it wasn't as bad. My bleeding was finally normal, I was feeling a lot better, and after lunch they removed the catheter. They wanted us to stay another night, just in case, because of my slight fever the night before, but I insisted on leaving, so the nurse talked to the doctor on call. He said he wasn't concerned that I was doing much better, and he let me go. The pediatrician was being ridiculous over wanting to do more blood tests on Akaydia this night, so I had to sign papers refusing treatment. I wasn't going to put her through more unnecessary blood tests out of stupid hospital routine. We weren't supposed to be there to begin with. She would never have had them done, so no more. We got home around 9 p.m. on March 9th. Aiden had come to see us at the hospital for a bit, and he loved his sister. He was all protective and concerned looking when the nurse came in to check her vitals. One issue we had the first night and the first day home was that every time she would cry, Aiden would cry as well, but we got it through to him that was the only way she could communicate, so he was okay after that. He absolutely loves her now, and she loves him just as much. So, in total, I lost 1,500 milliliters of blood. 900 of that was at the birthing center before my transfer. So, yeah, there's my story. Thanks for watching.